Hello family, welcome to another episode of A Date with Kiki. I am Kiki, your host. A Date with Kiki is a show where we open everyone up to the inner world of men. On our dates, we bring to light some deep struggles in men's world that are eating to us, as well as the solutions to these issues. Last week, we started off on domestic abuse against men, or if you want, domestic violence against men. And I promised to bring back Kenny. But just before we go on, last week we talked about different types of abuse and how to know, or the signs you would see when you're facing this abuse. Now, this week, Kenny is back like a promise. And we're going to be talking about what to do, where to find help, and a little more digging deep into this topic, because it's a very deep topic. In fact, I've been doing some soul searching as well. Now, on my own now, I just want to say very quickly, this is not to crucify anyone. This is not to make us feel guilty as men, women, or parents, but to help us understand a little more about the things our men are going through, empathize with them, and find help for them, just as we do for the women. I think the men also deserve this. Thank you. Now, welcome back, Kenny.
It's good to be back.
Thank you so much.
It's good to be back.
Coming back. Yes, I know you're a very busy person and this means a lot to you. Thank you so much for coming back. Now we'll go off. Last week we started talking about the types of abuse. We talked about emotional, financial, psychological, physical. We talked about sexual abuse as well. I know we didn't dig deep into sexual abuse because it's a very broad one. But yeah, now off the back of all of those, Kenny, as a man, how do you think this abuse affects them psychologically, or affects men psychologically? What's the aftermath of this abuse to men?
Yeah, I think again, that's a very good question, and there's so many ways in which this, this level of, or that level of abuse can affect a man, and I think one being could be just as easy as his confidence, his self-esteem, believing in who he is, that's someone's identity almost taken away from them. So I think it can affect them in that way, them feeling a bit low about who they are, a bit low about themselves, a bit low about, their self-worth as well. Self-esteem is definitely a way that it affects them. Obviously, there are, what we sort of call, common mental health problems in my line of work, like depression. It could lead to anxiety. It could lead to even paranoia as well. It could lead to maybe something we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, where people sometimes have flashbacks or nightmares of abuse that they've suffered in the past. So escaping, finally becoming free from it, the aftermath is, maybe some sort of post-traumatic stress or trauma from it, or, and I think one of the main ones that I've sort of, looked at or worked with is lack of trust. When someone is abused, and they've broken free from that, at the end of it, they don't trust another person. They will struggle to get into another relationship, struggle to figure out who's real in their lives or not, so they're often stripped away from, trust is often stripped away from them.
Okay, having said all of that, you mentioned something about identity. Loss of identity can happen as a result of abuse. And so that just triggered a question in my head.
Yeah.
The effect on the children, because on the street today we see a lot of teenagers, particularly teenage boys who have lost their identity. They don't even know who they are. Could some of this be as a result of the abuse they face at home?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, if there is abuse going on in the home, it definitely makes it a lot more difficult for the child to come into themselves, to maybe sort of learn good social skills, interaction skills, for the child to be able to develop their own self-esteem, you know, because all they're witnessing is violence. You know, it will make it difficult for the child to be able to communicate their needs because, you know, at that point in time, the parents are maybe clashing, and that's all they're witnessing. So it'll make it difficult for the child, or even the person being abused to sort of know who they are as a person. So it can have that effect on it as well.
Okay, now one of the questions we got from last week's episode, but before I go to that question, I just want to say very quickly to our viewers, the questions have been coming in, emails have been coming in, so feel free to drop your questions and email or comments about domestic abuse against men. I know we have a lot out there about women. Let's talk about men now. And one of the questions, like I was saying, that came in last week is, can love be misinterpreted for abuse? How do you make sure you don't misinterpret love for abuse? You know, last week we talked about, can affection or can abuse be misinterpreted for affection? So you are indirectly abusing your spouse, but coming in from the angle of affection or masking with affection. So on the other end now, can we misinterpret love for abuse? I'm showing you love and you think I'm abusing you. Is that possible?
I think that is possible. You know, how the person, you know, you don't know the intention behind the love that the person is trying to show you.
Okay.
So, you know, without knowing the intention behind that, it's really difficult for someone that's been abused to know that, you know, that's what's going on sometimes. You know, it can be, you know, I was having a conversation outside of, you know, this chat that we're having, and you know, someone talked a little bit about, you know, okay, if a wife, for example, is restricting food from her husband, you know, doing it out of love, you know, of course, but then, you know, it might get to the point where, you know, although she might have good intentions doing it out of love, perhaps, you know, but then again, you know, she's restricting food. You know, she's not feeding it. She's not saying, you know, you can have this instead. It's healthier for you. You know, she's just restricting food. Yeah?
Okay.
So it's just important to understand that fine line between, okay, she loves me, she's my wife, she wants to take care of me. You know, if she really restricting me from eating food in terms of starvation, is she trying to give me healthy options, you know? But you know, I do have to say though, you know, that is just an example, because you know, if someone is being abused, you know, it's more than restricting food. Obviously, the love is shown. You know, the love.
In this case, the woman obviously had a good intention, but the way she's going about it's probably not the right way, restricting, and then I don't know, you're trying to keep him healthy, but you're not giving him other options. So it's turning into starvation and all of that.
And you know, let's be straight with it. It will be severe. You know, it's not just saying don't have your, you know, we're Africans, don't have your jollof rice and chicken and whatever today. You know, it's not just that. It's restricting food for the whole day. It's saying, oh, have you eaten? You can't eat yet.
Even though I'm hungry.
Even though you can't eat yet. You know, it will be in that case. And actually what happens in these situations is that, you know, although the man might think, okay, you know, they still love me, they're trying to take care of me. Actually, as a result of that, you know, the man is perhaps maybe finding it difficult to see that it's abuse, you know, in all of that.
Okay, now, we've talked about that. Are there other examples of abuse I don't know, I know you're professional with, you know, like disclosure and all of that, but are there examples that you can give us of, you know, instances of what could be an abuse in a relationship?
Yeah.
That stuff I know.
Yeah, I mean, the typical ones in terms of like physical violence, you know, physical abuse, punching, kicking, you know, hitting, slapping. You know, there's that one. There is, you know, threatening to kill yourself as well. is part of psychological abuse.
Okay, I'm threatening to kill myself.
I'll kill myself. Yes.
Okay.
Because you have to think a little bit about this.
The hold he has on the other person when I say that.
Exactly. Abuse is a power thing. The person who's abusing needs power often. So they will always, I'll kill myself. You won't have access to your kids if you decide to leave. It's not, I know, people go through difficulties with marriages and, things like that.
Frictions
and things like that, So when I say, you won't have, access to your kids, I really mean it as in they're in the house together, they're living together. The person is threatening, the husband and telling him that you will not have access to your kids if you do not do this thing. If you decide to walk out, you'll never see your kids again. And this is a husband that wants to see his kids, that wants it to be a part of his life. That is wrong. That would be wrong. And vice versa. If it was the other way around. But yes, we're speaking about men today. But these are examples, and we have to remember that all these are just one of many things that occur when a man is being abused. In his house. It's one of many.
I guess it's like we said last week. It's a lot easier for women to talk about this thing because of our nature, but for men it's tough for them to talk about it, and that's why a lot of men suffer in silence, that we don't even know these things are happening. If I hadn't heard that on the radio that day, I wouldn't have ever thought a man could be abused to death. Actually, she kept hitting, from slapping and that, and one day she just passed on. It just passed on. And even when she was sentenced, she's still appealing. So I get the bit of appealing. I don't want to go into that, but the bit of you abusing somebody to death, even in the part of on the side of the woman, men abusing women to death. When we talk about love, love is kind, love is gentle, love is beautiful. So where should love get to that extent? Anyway, God help us.
I mean, there's so many unanswered questions, especially to do with love. I honestly believe that most of the time, if the love is there or not, the person being abused feels as though they've done something wrong, even if they haven't. They feel as though there's the fear there that, this person loves me, I'm doing this thing wrong, I need to do better. For this person as well. So, it is a very, very domestic violence is very, very complicated in itself. You can see the discussion that we've had this week and last week being pulled in different directions, different types of conversations that we're having.
It just keeps unfolding
because it's a very, very broad and sensitive topic to have. That I think the more we sort of talk about it, the easier it'll be to raise awareness.
I like that. The more we talk about it, the easier it will be to raise awareness. Thank you very much, viewers. Just a short break and we will be back. Hi there, welcome back, and I'm still here with amazing Kenny. So, I haven't said all of that. Now, how do we find help? How can a man find help once you realize you've been abused?
I think the stages to getting help can be really difficult, for a man, and I think the first thing I would say is actually maybe just booking a GP appointment. That is a way into talking about your needs or talking about you. Your GP is there for physical problems, but is there for emotional and psychological difficulties as well.
Okay, that's new to me.
Most of within the line of work that I do, most of referrals come from GPs.
From the GPs.
So GPs are not just there for physical health problems. They're there for psychological health problems.
For the sake of people that are not watching from the UK, who is a GP? Who's
general practitioner So your doctor.
Your doctor. Okay. Yeah.
Your doctor.
Thank you. Okay.
So I guess, me saying go to your GP, it's a safe way to do it as well.
Okay.
It's a safe, because you can just book an appointment for like, a cold or, something. And then try if you have a good relationship with your GP, or try and open up a little bit, just to talk about what you've been experiencing at home, and the GP would make maybe a bit of a risk assessment to check if you're in any danger at all. We'll ask you some key questions to check. But that is a safe space to do that as well. That's what I would say as well. So there are various charitable organizations that can help as well, and I think it's just about that initial step, just to sort of talk about what you're experiencing. And most importantly, I know each case is individual and is different, but there is a theme, when it comes to domestic violence, of the same things happening in relationships. So if you don't know, pick up the phone. They're confidential lines
that you can
ring as well. Pick up the phone, talk through your difficulties if you don't know, and a caseworker at the end of the phone can help you make that decision yourself. Can help you make that decision as well. Give you some advice in terms of what you're going through. It is possible to report it to the police as well, but a lot of people are afraid to report things to the police.
Particularly us Africans.
Particularly Africans, we're afraid to report things to the police as well. But I think, if you're in danger, if you're fearing for your life, life is precious. Call the police, let them know what's going on. If there are kids involved, that's also another sensitive issue, because people, there's the stereotype that my kids are going to get taken away from you. But actually, working, in line with social services in the past, social services do the best that they can to help and make sure that you and the kids are safe in a secure place. They don't just take kids away from homes for no reason. They do their best to come up with a care plan to help out families that are going through difficulties like that as well.
Okay, that's good to know.
So it's not just, I'm going to take your kids away. So there are various organizations that can help men in particular. I said charitable organizations. They provide a safe space for men to talk about their issues, whether it be individual or group support. As we know, there's power in numbers at times. And there's a sense of sharing your experience at times sometimes. Talking to someone who understands what you've been through.
And then you also know that you're not the only one in the boat of it. Thank you very much. So it's a good thing to know that there is help out there, particularly for men. I think I've read about that, Mankind. They're quite a good one. Mankind. I think that's the name of I think that's the name of the organization. And there are lots of them out there. Google is your friend. Just Google it. And then again, it's not to suspect everybody's acts. It's not to suspect what your partner is doing, what your wife is doing, or the next person to you is doing. But it's just for us all to be safe. We don't want our men dying because of domestic violence. We need to protect women as well as protect men, and protect our children in all. Thank you very much, Kenny. But before we go, one question just popped up in my head. Why do people abuse other people?
And I think we're going to have another episode.
I promise we're not just this. But why do people abuse others?
Do you know what? I think, there's so many factors that go into play in that, It could be upbringing. It could be, particular incidents, so maybe they've been abused before in the past, and then it's more a reflection in a mirror. It could be it's such a wide range of variables that might make somebody want to abuse. It could be spite, it could be hate, just pure
drive for power.
It could be pure spite, pure jealousy. It could be envy. It could be so much, so many different things. So, and I think, helping people, trying to help people who who do abuse people is a major work.
Yeah.
That is a major
because
work.
I think they need help as well.
Yeah,
It's not just the receiver, the givers
yeah.
also need help.
But the problem is that, you know, somebody who's abusing somebody doesn't have insight. They don't know that. Well, they don't have insight into their own struggles as well. So that, you know, there's the lack of insight, there's a lack of empathy, there's a lack of, you know, remorse for what they're doing. You know, they don't have the capacity to see that this isn't right, what they're doing to another human being as well. It doesn't justify what they're doing, but they don't have the capacity to do it. And like I said, it's a big work trying to stop. Prevention obviously is better than, you know, cure. Trying to prevent, you know, domestic abuse, but we just have to do the best that we can to safeguard people that are going through it.
Yeah. And for people who are abusers, do you think there is any form of help for them? I'm abusing my partner or my husband, and I don't want to. I don't know why. I don't know how I do it. Is there help for me? Is there help for people like that?
Yeah. I mean, it would be, you know, I would encourage sort of the same services if there's someone that's, you know, as if they're abused.
Because it could be some kind of disorder as well. So they could go for help as well.
Yeah. Of course. You know, I just encourage them maybe to speak to their doctors.
That's the easiest way.
It's the quickest way because you can book an appointment.
And cheapest as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly in the UK.
Exactly. Yeah. You know,
I was going to shake some table again, but I don't know if I should ask this. Now, I go to church or mosque or something, and I'm facing domestic abuse. Do you think going to my leaders in church or my pastor is the first or safest way to deal with this? Because sometimes I want to do these things, you know, in a subtle way. I want to speak to my pastor. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It you know, I always say it just depends on, you know, your relationship with the pastor. You know, I know people are believers in God, and you know, people strive for this as well. Depends on your relationship with the pastor, because it's a very, very sensitive topic, you know. And if you feel that this person that you want to share this information with is approachable, you know, and he's not going to use this information against you, or he's not going to tell you that, oh, you know, you should. This is your cross to bear.
You're the bad person here.
You know, this is your cross to bear. You're in this. This is your cross to bear. Everyone has their own cross. No, you know. Again, you know, I would always say maybe someone that you can trust, a close friend or family. You know, maybe someone that you can actually open up to. Even if you do go to church, yes, you can talk to your pastor or church member, friends in church. You know, that's where your support network is. But I would say it's a very, very personal decision. You know, and you know, because people get abused in church as well. It's possible.
Let's not shake that.
I'm not going to shake that, but I have to be honest.
But that's true, yeah.
I have to be honest. So abuse goes across, you know, whatever relationship that there is abuse, man or woman. So I would always say that if you're going to open up to somebody, you know,
be sure it's someone you trust.
Yeah. Be sure someone
and then again, I think I would add to that for pastors, for leaders in church, or even social circles, if someone comes to you with such thing and you don't know what to do, seek help for them. Me coming to you to say I'm facing XYZ issues doesn't mean you have to have the solution, but you can seek it for me. We can seek out the solutions together.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kenny. It's been a long 2 weeks. And I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for coming. And I think our eyes have been opened. So a lot have been spoken about. We haven't done justice to it as much as I would want, but that's because we're conscious of time. We just want to open this topic up for people to know there is help, and then people to be able to speak up for whatever thing you're going through. It's not been a weakling to speak up or talk about your challenges. So viewers, I hope you've learned a lot like I have done. Please seek help if you're going through any form of domestic violence or abuse or the other. And I'll see you again. I am Kiki. Thank you. Love you.